Well, let's get straight into this because Mpact set to launch this offer to repurchase shares from odd lot shareholders holding less than 500 shares. Run us through the rationale and why you're deciding to go down this route.
Well, perhaps just to start, Alishia, I should give perspective to what we're talking about here. Currently, we have 32,500 shareholders on our register, of whom 28,500 hold less than 100 shares, and many of those hold 5 or even 10 shares. And then a further 2,500 hold between 100 and 500 shares. And that's really a legacy of the old Anglo employee share ownership programs from the 80s and 90s, which were demerged then when Mondi demerged from Anglo, and then demerged again when we demerged from Mondi. So you have a number of shareholders who own, on aggregate, less than 0.5% of our total share value.
Let's put a number to that number of shareholders because it's, what, 32,500?
In total,
yeah.
Of which 31 odd thousand hold less than 500 shares. So that gives you a perspective on what we're talking about. And on aggregate, they hold between them less than 900,000 shares out of 164 million shares that are in issue. So it's really around dealing with the efficiency of communicating with shareholders and all the costs associated, and also giving those shareholders who have odd lot the opportunity to liquidate those shares in a cost-effective manner, because through this offer they'll get, we're offering a 5% premium proposed, of course, on a volume-weighted average price over 5 days, and they won't have any transfer fees or brokerage fees associated with that. So it gives them the opportunity of actually liquidating those shares in a cost-effective manner.
Let's look at that price tag that you've put. I mean, 5% premium over the average price between the 14th and the 21st of June 2012. I mean, why are you looking at future costs as opposed to what's traditionally done in terms of historical costs?
Well, bear in mind that this odd lot offer is subject to the approval of our shareholders, and that will be sought at a general meeting on the 5th of June, which will be immediately after our annual general meeting. And provided, of course, we get the shareholders' approval, then we'll implement it thereafter. And so one can't implement something prior to the shareholder approval.
What's that anticipated response looking like?
I think most shareholders would see this as a positive thing. I mean, it is about efficiency and optimization, while at the same time giving those odd lot shareholders the opportunity to exit and liquidate their shareholdings.
Where the focus is efficiencies, as you highlighted earlier, I mean, we're looking at cost savings from Impact's perspective. So where this is a transaction that could possibly cost you 14 million rand, which is what, small change for a company like Mpact, what kind of cost savings?
Well, just to put perspective on that, I mean, every cent counts in our business, like most businesses, so 14 million rand isn't small change by any means. But I don't think one needs to look at it as a cost, because you are buying back shares, so it's not like you're writing off that cost. You are buying back shares, which will mean that there are less, 900,000 shares less in issue. And I think at the end of the day, that brings overall efficiency to the group, and I think our shareholders would be quite happy with that.
Are you looking at any cost saving that you'll reap in terms of figures right now? Because that will give us a sense on a return on the capital outlay that you're actually...
Okay, well, the cost of actually implementing an odd lot offer of this nature is around 800,000. It's detailed in the circular that went out this morning. It is around 800,000, and if you take the integrated report as an example, I mean, one integrated report costs you some tens of rands. It doesn't cost cents. And if you've got to issue 30-odd thousand of those, I mean, the numbers are easily reconciled to a quick saving in the context of reducing the number of shareholders.
What does this say about the opportunity that's out there in terms of where Mpact can, put money in moving forward? Is this an indication at all that there's less opportunity to spend capex on other projects?
No, I don't think that's the case at all. This is just a case of housekeeping effectively in the company. A good housekeeping, I think, would be looked at by most companies in this situation, and that's all it is. I don't think one needs to read too much beyond that, other than to say, we listed in July last year, it should be remembered, and we do what is sensible and logical to make sure our business runs efficiently and smoothly, and this is just one of those matters.
Does this affect your debt structure in any way?
Not really. I mean, it will be financed out of existing resources and out of existing facilities. And as you said, 14 million rand is not that big in the context of our overall facilities. So I don't think there'll be any material effect in that regard.
Just in terms of the road ahead for Mpact, I mean, what are prospects looking like? We know that it's been difficult for the paper industry. A lot of spotlight has been in that context put on the packaging industry, where there's this blue sky opportunity. What's the road ahead looking like?
Well, we did release our results at the beginning beginning of March, and during that, on that occasion, we did emphasize that we're in a tough environment at the moment. You know, we've seen pressure on our margins across most of our businesses. But having said that, we've got very strong market positions in the areas that we operate. So we're the biggest producer of corrugated packaging in South Africa by a significant margin. We're also the biggest producer of polyethylene or PET preforms, which are the bottles that are used for Coke and things like that in South Africa. And in the areas that we operate, we are a very significant player. We're also the biggest by far recycler of waste paper in South Africa, and we use that to make our container board and carton board, which is used for other packaging products. So we are well positioned in the respective sectors, but it must be said and realized that we are in a tough environment, as you mentioned. We're seeing our customers are in a very difficult situation. But having said that, we've been there before, and we've had to do different things to pull through, and we'll be trying our best to do the same in the future.
Well, best of luck to you, Bruce. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon.